Well, good evening. How are you?
Hello, hello.
We are live. Hello, hello. And we've got Wibble Chicken. Hello, Chris. And we've got Red Collector. Hello. I don't believe we've met. And we've got Tina in, and we've got Becca. So hello, everybody. And for those that can't comment, hello to you too. And of course, hello, Heather.
Hello.
Hello.
I changed my title from my treasure pirate selling role to my more witchy one.
I can't see that. What have you put it as?
You're not seeing me. I mean, as Heather the Weather.
Well, quite right too. No, I can't see that. That's because I have to have almost all the screen taken up with writing because I can't see it otherwise. Otherwise, if I put my glasses on, then you get this glare off my light.
Oh God, yeah. What?
Hello.
Headlights.
So yeah, it's one of those weird sort of things. It's like, oh God, but yeah. So there we go.
And Maya and Rowan joined us.
From cold and clear US Northwest. Actually, it's been cold and clear here today too. It's been rather nice, hasn't it?
It's been spring. It is definitely spring now. We are feeling the energy.
Definitely. You know, it really felt like it was March when I was out and about this morning. And it was like, actually, it's still, another week or so of February. It felt really positively March-like.
Little purple anemones. I had all up on this little bank near the garage I rent for my stock. And as I walked past it, I'm like, ooh, and I stopped to take a picture. Of course, the nosy neighbours were all out thinking, what's she doing? Taking a photo of little beautiful flowers. It's all
nice one. Do you know, it's funny because when I was driving this morning, I saw the standard snowdrop, banks and banks of snowdrops. They're beautiful, and the daffodils, of course. And then there were lots and lots of banks of crocuses too. And I always forget about crocuses. It's one of those things that they come up every year, and I'm always surprised by them.
Didn't see that coming.
A surprise crocus.
Because you get them all through a lawn, don't you? You often get a lawn full of them, and they're stunning, but they're so delicate. They only need one bashing from a bit of bad weather, and they're gone again. Yeah. But beautiful things.
Yeah, I'll tell you what though, we've had some terrible winds, and it's not just been me. We've had a lot of wind in the Surrey Hills.
It's a vegetarian diet.
I'll tell you what though, when I got home from work one day last week, can't remember what day it was, doesn't matter. And obviously, with filming, it had, been sort of destruction everywhere because that's what the film's about. And I got home and I thought, God, the special effects department's been round my house because there's a piece of wall that's been blown off.
Oh,
yeah,
that's a bit savage.
It was a bit of a surprise, really. I was sort of, trudging up the, up my gravelly path, and then there was a huge, great chunk of render. It's like, where does that come from? And it's literally blown off. It was had a big crack on it, but it's blown off, and it's been really, really blowy since then too. So yes, so that's going to be a very long ladder out and some incredibly strong glue.
Yes, well, it won't be you because you're on the ground floor. So
yeah, exactly. But I do need to make a comment to somebody because it's not right.
Exactly.
But it was like, ooh, we have a special effects department round. How exciting.
They put it back together when it's not a set.
Exactly. Yeah, they could have put it back together again. That would have been nice. And we've got some more people in. We've got Susie. Yeah. Hello. Good evening. I hope you're well. Big Girls Really Do Cry. Remind me, that is
Lainey, the one and only. Excellent, Lainey.
And hello. And we've got Jewelry Sales as well. Hello, Jill. So hello, girls. Hello. We're just discussing how nice the weather's been and how pretty all the flowers are, basically. But it got me in mind to thinking about my garden. I can't wait to get out in my garden and poke about and potter around. Obviously not withstanding bits of falling masonry, but it's all right for drainage at the bottom of a pot, apparently.
Yes, I did a lot of gardening myself this week. I think that was quite magical for me because I looked longingly at it, and what with the kind of work that I'm doing, always busy, and I promised myself, they said it was going to be milder and drier, and I'm like, right, I need to get in the garden, because it's a very relaxed garden, you know, a bit overgrown and what have you, but every now and again it really needs a helping hand. I've got things to prune, and I tend to go a bit hell for leather when I go in the garden. I kind of get my sort of pruning head on, and I've got all these wonderful trees, and I say, right, you all need a haircut. You know, have a good chat to them. And I've got some amazing elder branches that are a nice wand shape, so I've kind of cut those and put them in the shed to season. I usually leave them for quite a long time, and then come about sort of August, when they're really dried out, then I start making wands out of them. But of course, elder is quite a it's quite a special one. It's not for everybody, as ones go. But and I do that with the apples, but I won't prune the apples just yet. That's a bit later. But the thing is, I've got these huge tall hedges that are literally about 12 foot high, and the people the other side don't trim it, even though they're 6 foot higher up than we are. It's a long story, but so I have to get these long handled kind of pruny things and try and chop the top off the ash that's poking up, because it'll go crazy otherwise.
Yeah, they go bonkers, ash, and they seed all over the place, don't they?
Yeah, it's hard work. It's quite hard work, but I'd rather do that and pay some chap, you know, sort of 200, 300 quid to come and chop it, when they'll chop the wrong things and not just the bits that I want gone. But I love that feeling of the earth being warm, and knowing it just feels all sort of, it's all waiting, it's all kind of anticipatory. It's the earth is sort of pregnant, if you like, and it's kind of it's all waiting to just come forth, and I could really feel that this week.
Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it? And I like the planning processes. Like this year I'm going to put in X, Y, and Z, and I think I might try that. So actually, what was quite nice was that I planted some purple sprouting broccoli last year, and I rediscovered it when I went out to read the meter reading. It's like, oh, what's that? Blimey!
There you are.
Hello.
Exactly. My child is the same.
Yeah,
that keeps coming up in the pot. Yeah,
so
I like my child.
Scissors and chop some tops off. It was delicious.
And my wild garlic patch has expanded quite a bit. I collected a few ransoms, just a few, because I wanted them in my garden. And now I've got a reasonable sized patch of the foliage, so I'm quite looking forward to using those in cooking, because they're just so much gentler than garlic, and just really nice in salads and things.
There's a lot of woodland near me. As you sort of look out the front window, there's a great swathe of it to the right hand side. There's loads of it around everywhere, but particularly the swathe on the right hand side as you look out the window, and that has tons and tons and tons and tons of wild garlic there, and it's lovely. I sort of go in there and harvest lots, but I don't harvest it all from the same patch. And because it's spread out over several acres, I can literally sort of have one from this plant, 2 paces on, one leaf from, or a couple of leaves from that plant there, or a couple of plants there, a few paces on another, so it really doesn't make any difference to anything. Because it's literally sort of 100 leaves or so over a few acres, so it makes no difference really. But I like to infuse it in oil, and then use the oil with cooking and things like that. Locals use it fresh too, but I love it, absolutely love it. I was lucky actually that somebody gave me some. Laura's daughter, hi Laura. Laura's daughter gave me some a few years ago actually, before I moved, and it was in a pot, and it came with me, so that's in the pot underneath my plum tree, so that's doing its thing.
Rowan's asked a very good question. He said, for us city people, to suggest some practices to get in touch with nature and the energy of the natural world. Obviously, if you're in the city, it depends how green is your city, because some cities have surprising amounts of just planting, even a tree in a street, or a little patch of, as we have, a little patch of kind of what looks like wasteland that people have just stuck bulbs in. So now it's going a bit mad. But magically.
It depends on the city, doesn't it? I mean, some cities can be just, there's a city. Oh, hello. Did you hear that?
Yes. Cat.
That was parsnip in a hurry, that was. I think she's got old Nick after her. Yeah, there's a city, a town in Wales that I went to a few years ago, and it really surprised me because you've got these sort of green rolling hills and woods and forests and so on all around it, and then for the actual town itself, everything's literally been raised to the ground, and it's not even a blade of grass. It's
Yeah.
really, it's all this sort of grey brown stone. And obviously, concrete and tarmac and so on the pavements and things. And it's really bizarre because there's nothing. There's no hanging baskets. There's just no greenery whatsoever. It's really strange. And yet you look beyond all the houses and then you've got all the rolling hills and everything beyond. It's really strange. I can't remember where it was.
Maybe that's why, in a way, because they're surrounded by it. So they kind of, I mean, we like to have some greenery brought about, but the energy of it, I find I get it by just looking at a tree. That does it probably more for me magically. As soon as I connect with the tree, I realise it goes into the earth and it gets its energy. So no matter how much concrete is around it, that very much is happening. You know, buildings and concrete cannot stop nature. I mean, weeds will grow through anything, and I've got hops, bizarrely, because I'm in Kent, in the south of England, which was a hop farming tradition down here. And to be honest, wild hops will spring up in the tiniest bit of kind of like grit between two bricks. They will set down root. They are tenacious and grow like billio, and that is quite a good metaphor for, it doesn't matter where you are, be like a weed.
Exactly.
Grow anywhere.
Get on with it. So in answer to Rowan's question, my thoughts are that that you will always find bits and pieces, unless you happen to be in this one town in Wales, which I don't believe you are. There is always something around, even if it's only a dandelion growing in a crack, and there's nothing to stop you standing and contemplating it and communicating with it. It might just be a dandelion or a weed that's growing in the crack on the sidewalk, pavement, whatever. But the bottom line is, it's fought its battle and it's growing regardless. And I find that really magical, actually. I wrote a poem years ago, and that was kind of the final thing. Very long poem, quite epic, about 5 pages long. And that was the whole thing. Man comes in and destroys all sorts of stuff, and you think it's all lost. You think everything is just concrete and so on. But as you say, nature reclaims, and all of a sudden there's a dandelion or a weed growing in a crack. And I think that's amazing. A friend of mine's got or did have, I don't know whether she's rectified it now, but had various ash trees growing up the side of her house.
They all literally grow in. Yeah.
But
sorry, I was going to say, in response to Rowan, when he talks about when I say about getting in touch with the tree, it quite often it's like there's one particular sort of tree that you feel drawn to. In any landscape, there'll be a particular shape, especially at the moment while they're still nude and splendid with their tracery of branches, and it's usually something about it that draws you to it. And I mean, I have got a rowan tree at the bottom of my garden, and that for me, because it's there and it's the nearest one, I can actually physically go and put my hand on its bark, and it's actually got its feet in the stream, so it's bizarre. It likes being there. It's not that I have a great conversation with them, because they don't talk much, really, to be fair. They haven't, they're strong silent types, I find, the tree. But it's more about the energy. It's just feeling that connection with something that is so slow, and so the concept of time to a tree must be, would be very different, because they're so long lived, and they have cycles, and they have periods of growth and periods of stillness, much like ourselves. For me, I don't really have to think about it, and it's difficult to analyse, but just to actually, listen to the wind in the branches when it's got leaves and makes a noise. The amazing birds that are making their homes there, the squirrels that are scampering over it, and this thing just stands there and it's quite happy to put up with that. Exactly. It's just being near something that's growing and organic, whether that's an animal or a tree or a piece of grass. The tiniest thing will do.
Yeah, or a bird, of course, and they sort of flit past, don't they? And and it's funny when you look when you look, you'll find all sorts of stuff. Please note, I'm not wearing a fluffy jumper today. I know I have done for the last 6 months. I have more than one fluffy jumper.
That's called winter.
I'm wearing a fluffy jumper today.
Even I'm a t-shirt girl today.
Ooh, you've got a fancy t-shirt on there, haven't you?
I know, it's one my son gave me, and it actually says, I mean, this is one you've got to be careful where you wear it, obviously. It says, and you say witch like it's a bad thing. So yes, it's usually underneath things, admittedly. Depends where I am.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sometimes it's prudent to do the zip up, isn't it?
Yes, I like that one. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
We like weed.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I think you can find nature all around. As I say, even if you look up, you see birds flying overhead, and just enjoy their passing and listen to them if you can hear them over the traffic. And so often there'll be trees on the streets and so on. And just because they have a surrounding skirt of concrete doesn't mean that they're not still doing their own thing. It's just rather nice, really, isn't it? And you can. You can get in touch with all sorts of stuff. And of course, there's always parks and whatnot, isn't there? Something that might be of interest for anyone that's kind of wanting to think about that sort of thing is the Bad Witches blog. Because Lucia, that does the Bad Witches blog, she lives in South London. And it's a fairly leafy part, but obviously, she's nevertheless an urban witch. And she does talk quite a lot about how she manages to get hold of nature and get into nature. Have you got cat meowing?
Sorry, that's Tinker.
Yeah, and so she talks quite extensively of how she manages to get into nature in an urban environment, which is excellent. So yeah, definitely. Urban planners could plant 3 new trees for every one felled. Yeah, now I've got a problem with that. My problem is that they hack down a tree that's 200 or 300 years or even 100 years old. And then they're like, oh, but we planted 3, and they're kind of, I don't know, 2.5 sticks and a leaf. And you think, it's not the same. It's
not quite the same.
No. And yes, they're going to grow, but they're not going to be doing the same job. And of course, one of the biggest problems at the moment, certainly in the UK, of course, is flooding. And the flooding is becoming more and more of a problem, not just where I live. But flooding is definitely becoming more and more of a problem. And partly it's because they're cutting all the blooming trees down. Trees drink a lot of water. And they're like, oh, but we planted 3. It's like, yes, it's 2'6".
Twigs don't drink as much as a big tree, that's for sure. I mean, they wanted to get rid of the trees over the back of us. We have our little stream, we're very lucky, and the other side of it are quite a big row of trees that run alongside the river, and behind that, sadly now, is basically a shopping, it's sort of one of these shopping places. So those trees are a very important screen, particularly in the summer. They apart from providing habitat, they stabilise the riverbank for one. They drink a lot of the water, stop it flooding. They provide a nice screen for us, so we're not staring at the back of go camping or whatever it's called. But they wanted to remove them, but we got wind of it. Our neighbourhood got wind that they were putting in to try and remove them, just because they didn't want to be responsible for their upkeep, I think. Yeah. They're not now. They've got preservation orders on them.
Good.
They can't take them away. But how easy it is that these things get eroded because people don't notice, or it hasn't come to light, and then all of a sudden you hear the whir of a chainsaw and the bloody things are gone.
I remember a few years ago, I was going to pick one or several of my kids up from school. Can't remember, some of them anyway. And I sort of was walking up towards the school. I had to go past a block of flats that had 3 huge trees in front of these blocks of flats. And over time, I'd sort of witnessed them trimming them and pruning them, and that was absolutely fine. And they weren't trimming or pruning; they were in the process of cutting these things down. I went ballistic. I was really late to pick the kids up because I was having this enormous argument with the blokes that were doing it. And I'm standing in front of the tree saying, "You can't cut this tree down. It's been here for a long time. There's squirrels in it. There's pigeons in it. There's birds in it." And he's like, "Well, this is what we've been told to do." And he's like, "I don't care. You can't cut these trees down." I was getting really, really quite upset. So they did replant these 3 whopping great trees with ones that were about the same height as me and considerably thinner. And they think that's a good replacement. Why? Why do that in the first place? It just doesn't make sense.
I know.
So yeah, so I was very late to pick the kids up from school that day. They were quite upset. It's like, well, I was trying to save trees. And they're like, oh.
It's mother again, doing what she does.
She's a poor mum.
Yeah. Tree preservation orders, that's the thing. And I mean, it does pay to keep an eye on all the planning stuff. We've got one of our neighbourhood people is very up on all that sort of thing and very involved in the local sort of politics and planning and stuff. So he actually is our kind of guardian of stuff, and then obviously we all pile in when something needs doing and what have you. But yeah, because it's amazing what they'll sneak through and they think people aren't paying attention.
Yeah, actually, Rowan's saying time to reforest Britain. Actually, there's quite a big movement. We've got the Woodland Trust, and they are in the process of literally doing that, trying to, reforest Britain. Sort of and plant 18 different trees and so on. I have a thing that I pay £10 a month to, and it's a company called My Trees. And they're constantly planting trees, not just in the UK, but actually all over the world, and trying to counteract the huge numbers that are being lost on a daily, hourly, minutely basis. And that's quite good. And they kind of, actually have a prize draw every month as well. That's not why I'm in it. I'm in it for them to plant lots and lots more trees and try and offset everyone's carbon footprint and all the rest of it. But, there's lots of schemes out there if you look for them. But, unfortunately, not enough people know about it, but spread the word and, we'll get there eventually. And I think, a lot of this lockdown thing, sorry, talk about the lockdown, but I think there's been a lot of people that are realising the benefits of nature and how nice nature is, and how peaceful it is to be there. And, that it's like, you can literally recharge your batteries when you're in nature. And I think that's an important thing.
It's a good thing to come out of it all, isn't it? Yeah.
Chris says spindle is stunning. So spindle is brilliant. I love spindle, and I'd never actually seen spindle growing until the autumn time, and it was crazy. And went out for a sort of a rambly walk thing. Had it pointed out to me, it was like, oh wow, I've never actually seen it grow. I was very excited. So I picked a couple of berries and brought some home, and a odd stick or two. A spindle of spindle.
I'm just looking it up, actually. I'm just trying to think. I'm not sure if I...
Got really pretty pink berries, and they're sort of...
Yes, it's very. I'm trying to think if I've seen it.
Yeah, they're very pale pink heart-shaped berries. They're lovely. But I've never seen it growing before. It was a real new one on me. So I was rather excited by that. I love finding something.
Oh, can't get to anything. Yeah. Wow. It's the sort of thing where you think, oh, I've seen it, but I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
So it's just a looking tree.
Yeah.
We've got a lovely sumac tree that someone's got, where it's kind of in a public bit where people park. And it's so stunning. And every year I see it, and it puts out these funny big things, and then it has the leaves change colour beautifully. And it's a lovely, lovely thing.
Yeah, gorgeous. I think everything at this time of year is all sort of lovely and green, isn't it? Oh, it's just lovely. I love it.
It's the anticipation now, and the kind of hope that is implicit in the energy that is coming through now, and everyone's at a low ebb, and I really can see that. But I can't help but be like a bouncing Tigger, because I know what's
coming. It's coming. Yeah, it's coming. I'm just trying to celery. I love celery. I'm just trying to catch up on some of these things which I've been ignoring. I apologise. And hello, Becky. Hello, sweetie. Hope you're feeling a bit better. She hadn't been feeling terribly well, so hopefully she's feeling a bit better. Tiddly palm. Little communal growing areas. They're rather nice, aren't they? Question. Often pagans focus narrowly on the earth, What are some practices to expand one's connections to the universe, planets, stars, outer space? I'm not sure about outer space particularly. Never felt the need to think beyond outer space, really. I'm quite happy with what I can see. I mean, it's one of those things that makes you wonder from time to time, isn't it? But yeah.
I do like to whip around astrally in the far-flung reaches of the universe. I like the idea of that. But yeah, there's so much to explore as well, isn't there?
It's like, no, don't even go there. I'm wondering what's at the bottom of the blooming sea, let alone what's out there.
But then I was always fascinated by space science when I was younger, so I always wondered what it would be like to travel. So of course you have to do it in your head because it's not going to happen any other way.
No.
Yeah, regularly poodle off.
Yeah. Now, as I say, I'm quite happy with sort of like the galaxy and the Milky Way and the stuff that you can physically see. And obviously your mind wanders and thinks, oh, I wonder what's beyond there. But to be honest with you, it's so vast. As I say, my brain just starts bubbling at that point. It's like, no.
Burnout, like, nope.
No, mind blown.
Yeah. It's that thing about how stars are made and how planets are formed. And, years when I was younger, it was always a case of, well, we're probably the only planet. And I'm like, no, no way. And of course, now they pretty much suspect that the science has finally caught up with where mine was always at, which is there will be examples similar and very different throughout all the universes. We are not the only things.
No, I not know. I can't. I think not. No. Chris says that she likes to likes to watch the sunrise. Yeah. Actually, I have to say that I don't normally see sunrises because I'm a night owl.
Sunsets, yeah.
But these last few weeks, when I've had to be up early for work, it's just been amazing. Sort of arriving so early, and mostly still when it's dark when I arrive at work. And then we sort of like come out of this marquee, and then we get like taken off in a minibus. So we're like, oh, the sun's coming up, and it's lovely to like see the sunrise and so on. And then it's sunset, and it's time for me to come home again. So yeah. It's lovely being able to get to see it, and actually I've really enjoyed it because it's not something I normally witness at all. I'm normally fast asleep at that point in time. But yeah, they have
been up all night. That's the way you see sunrise.
Quite a lot of those. Yeah. Oh wow, Rowan's got waterfalls in his downtown park. How amazing!
Cool. Lovely.
Beautiful. I like the sound of a waterfall.
Yes.
Yeah. What does that mean? Oh, Becky's saying that she feels like her bubbles burst at the moment. Oh, that's not a happy place to be.
No.
Yeah.
We've got a full moon coming up, so that should help re-inflate.
Yeah. Any weird planet stuff happening? We're probably in Mercury retrograde. We're always in Mercury retrograde.
Always retrograde. It must spend its entire existence going backwards. No, I'm no astrologer. I don't know. Or astronomer.
It's one of those things that it's one of those phrases. It's like, well, it's just going retrograde. You think, what, again?
Yeah, it all goes.
Yeah. Madness. Absolutely madness. Right, where are we? Susie says, do you feel our urban planners could make more provision for greenery? In my worldwide travels, I've seen spectacular walls of greenery, up high-rise buildings, not to mention roof gardens, etc. Yeah, and of course the roof greenery is a thing in Germany. That's the new thing for new roofs and new builds in Germany, isn't it? Having all the greenery on the roofs, I believe. Yes,
that way, isn't there?
I do, and I think and we'll be driving along on a familiar road or whatever, and then all of a sudden they've locked down, and it's like on embankments and things, and they've suddenly locked down 200 or 300 trees, and it's like, where is the logic in that? The roots, like you were saying earlier, knit all of the embankment together, and now they've decided to chop them all down. For what purpose? Yes, they make leaves. Yes, you can sweep them up, but it's a lot easier sweeping up leaves than it is 14 million tons of rubble because you've had a landslide.
Well, we had one down here there, on the railway line between Tunbridge and Tunbridge Wells. There was a landslip at High Brooms, and that's probably, and they said it'd been because of intensive rain. So if you'd left some bloody foliage on it, probably wouldn't have happened.
Oh, no, it wouldn't have happened. The water would have been drunk by the foliage, and the root system knits it all together. It's not rocket science, but drives me absolutely mad. So I'm always driving along and swearing and I'm really cross. Million people.
Yeah.
Oh no, it drives me nuts. Yeah. Yeah, as Becky's saying about the moon, she, it's really flat and didn't even think about where the moon is. So yeah, it's quite nice actually because the moon's out during the daytime. You get to see it all the time, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
I always like seeing the moon and the sun in the sky at the same time.
Lacy moon.
Where are we? Right, I'm just trying to catch up. Hang on 8 minutes. What have we got here? Forewarned is for on. I'm getting there. Nearly there. So yes, there. I've caught up. Yeah.
Yay.
Also saying that she's been up earlier recently. And she's done some gardening. Oh, see, I haven't done any gardening, but I've been out and about. So, but I'm hoping if the weather's going to be respectable tomorrow, that I can get out and do something more than just chop some heads off some broccoli and stuff them in the face. So
yeah. Are you actually getting that bit of extra garden? Because you were hoping to get some, weren't you? Near your front gate.
Yeah,
you were hoping to get...
I haven't done as yet. I'm not hoping so, but
it'd be nice, wouldn't it? It'd be really handy if it was.
It would, yeah. Randall's just notoriously slow with everything. So who's that? Oh, hello. Got Stripey Locks just come in. Hello. With the mission. Yeah, Burt yesterday. I was mid-conversation with Tina, and I heard the cat flap and a squeak all at the same time, and it wasn't a cat squeak. And in comes Burt, and he's got a mouse in his mouth. I'm like, oh, get out, drop it. And he did, and it went straight under the bookshelf. I was like, oh, Tina, I'll phone you back. And the knees on the floor with a torch underneath the bookshelf. Managed to catch him quite quickly, actually. It wasn't too bad. So yeah, I managed to catch him quite quickly, and then of course it was a sort of a quick trot down the lane to go and release him back in his swing. Cheerio. He was very pleased to be let go. He was rather sweet, really. But yeah, so I haven't had any of them for a while, and he didn't bring any garnish in, unusually. Maybe that's because he wasn't planning on eating it.
Yeah, perhaps it was a main course rather than a starter.
He obviously wasn't feeling very cordon bleu.
No, decided to dispense with do a bit more home style. Yeah.
More Jamie Oliver than what's his name?
Yes, a sharing platter, perhaps.
Yes.
That's something that's gone out of vogue, isn't it? A sharing platter.
Yes. There's not going to be many clothes around for a while, is there? Yes. Paws off, it's mine. Sharing platter for one. Yeah.
I think one of the nicest ways to be in touch with nature is to go camping, is to actually get out into somewhere that isn't home, that's different. And I know there's probably quite a lot of people that will do that this year because we don't know how many other options there are likely to be. But yeah, being able to get out somewhere where you've got a fire outside and you're sitting under the stars, and that it's magical in itself, isn't it? Really,
it really is. Yeah, I absolutely love a fire, like bonfire or fire pit style fire, or even the embers on a barbecue. To be honest, I get really. Oh, Laura, hello. Yeah, I just can't get enough of it, and it's just. Oh, I don't know. It's hypnotic, isn't it? And you just like stare into the embers in a fire, or just the flames, or if you can avoid the smoke long enough, it tends to follow me about.
It does. It knows your name.
It really does. It was like, it knows it on the other side.
And then it kind of comes around to see you.
Yeah, I know. End up being good.
But I find even if I'm driving along and someone's got a bonfire and it wafts into the car, I'm like, oh, I love the smell of it. Bonfire. Oh.
Oh God, yeah, I do. I absolutely love it. And it's just, I don't know, it's that whole, and I love it when you're in your tent and it rains.
Oh, the noise.
The noise of it. Oh God, I love that. I really do.
Well,
When I
we get
have
that on our roof anyway.
pardon?
We get that on our roof anyway because we have a flat roof in my
Oh,
bedroom. So when it rains, you really do hear it, and I love that.
yeah, yeah. It can be deafening though, can't it?
It can
Really?
be, and it's a bit worrying on a windy night, obviously. But
Yeah,
it's that feeling of being in connection. You feel much more connected to nature just by being able to hear it and sense it. Yeah.
yeah. It was funny actually. Last week at work, we had a massive hailstorm. Can't remember what day it was, um, but it was. I mean, it only lasts like hailstones. Usually, hailstorms normally don't last very long, and it was only a few minutes. But I happened to be outside already because I was having a cigarette in the smoking shelter, which was made of corrugated iron. And of course, it was like bing, 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 boom. And it was like, wow. And everyone else is sort of like running all over the place like headless chickens trying to take shelter. And I'm just sort of standing there going, yeah. It was just brilliant. It's so noisy, but it can be quite painful. But it's the level of hailstones that we get here pale into insignificance when you compare to what you get in different countries.
Oh,
We're,
the golden
oh my
drops.
God. When it was only a few months ago, my daughter that lives in Brisbane, they had a hailstorm, I should say, there, and the hailstones were about the size of tennis balls, literally the size of tennis balls. They were absolutely massive. Got a photograph of my son-in-law holding one of these things. He's got big hands, and it's literally fills up his hand. They're more like, snowballs. You know when you compact snow and it's like an ice ball. They're like that. And it lasted quite a while. I think it lasted a sort of a good 15, 20 minutes, this hailstorm. And it wrote off several hundred cars in the street, not just damaged windows, literally wrote them off, including my son-in-law's car. They had no electricity or power or water for about 3 or 4 days because it brought all the cables and everything down. And all these hailstones went straight through people's roofs and windows and stuff. It was devastation. It looked like a bomb had hit. It was amazing, just for sort of 20 minutes of hailstones. And so you sort of get these little tiny weeny pebbles that we get over here. And people are like, oh, look at the size of it. It's almost as big as a pea. Wow.
It could kill you, couldn't it, if you were out in a big one? You could
There were
actually
people that had to
take
go
it
to
out.
hospital. Yeah, there were. Yeah. But it was amazing, you sort of get conked on the head with one of them. Luckily, my daughter was at work, so her car was undamaged because she was at work. But yeah, it was devastating, and the neighbourhood was in sort of a state of turmoil for quite a while after that.
Yeah.
So yeah. What does that say? Becky obviously needs smudging. Better waft over smoke. Why do I need smudging? Oh, because of the smoke. Yeah, clearly. I saw a great meme the other day about smudging, and it was, I'm not going to be able to get this right, and the wording, but it was, you tell me you hate it when I'm smudging, so I'm not coming over. But the answer to that is, well, it's clearly working then. You see what I mean? I can't work.
Yeah.
This
Cleanse,
smudging working then. I'm not coming over when you're smudging. It's horrible, isn't it? It's working. Yeah, so clearly I do need a lot of smudging. It's terrible, isn't it? Every time it's a fire, it's just like in the face. It's like, oh my kipper!
Yes, especially on a camping trip.
Yeah, everybody can everything really. So barbecues, fires, everything, just smoke everywhere. So yeah, but isn't it lovely though? I love that. I'm not so keen on cooking outside, actually. I have to be honest. Cooking outside, I find a bit of a chore.
Mm.
I find that rather irritating.
Yeah, it's easier to cook indoors.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, if it's, obviously being vegan, you tend not to barbecue too much, really, because the peas fall through the grill. Don't keep a chickpea still.
It's not quite the same, is it?
On the barbie.
Nah.
So yeah, and I'm not a huge barbecue fan anyway, but yeah, I just find it irritating actually. Sort of, if you're doing camping, cooking outside, because it takes a long time to heat anything up compared to normal, because you've got the downdraft blowing away the heat from whatever it is that you're trying to reheat in your little pot.
Yes,
So
that's where
yeah, I
the
find
one
that a
comes
bit
in
irritating.
handy.
Yeah, but on the other hand, if you sort of actually utilize, if you've got a fire going and you put things like I don't know, potatoes in tin foil in the embers, there's something special about them. They're magical things.
Yeah.
Oh, I love them. I can eat them like apples. Just love them. I think they're amazing. So yeah, and it is a brilliant way of getting back to nature, even if it's only a night or two. It's just that whole, I don't know, feeling the ground beneath your feet and breathing all in the cleaner, fresher air.
Yeah, and just being away from the usual distractions. You literally are sitting looking at stars because you're not watching telly and you're not.
Yeah.
You just notice more. I think you just feel it more because you're in it. And I certainly plan to do some more of that this year.
Yeah.
Now that we know that we're going to be able to. Yes.
Also, because the skies are darker generally, aren't they? Because obviously you get a lot of light pollution, don't you, in the towns and cities and whatever. And of course, once you've sort of got a little bit further out in the countryside or the woods or wherever you happen to be, all assuming it's not a particular thicket and you can actually see the sky, or it's not cloudy. But skies are all so much darker, which means you get to see more stars. So I think that's lovely. I really, it's just, I can't wait. I really can't. Didn't do any camping last year at all. Did you? Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Last year in the bit when we could.
Yeah,
September.
Was it September? End of August, September time.
Yeah.
Yeah. A few days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was actually September, but it was quite pleasantly warm.
It was. Yeah. It was nice, actually. Yeah. I didn't even put a cardigan on, did I? It was just strap tops all the way.
Well,
warm moment.
Well, that was lovely, but we had, it was grabbing the chance to do these things while we could. But even then, it was all very carefully done, and everyone's spaced out and spread around. But yeah, it was still fabulous.
Yeah.
Hopefully, do a lot more this year.
Yeah, definitely. Mind you, I don't know when that's actually going to happen, but we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, just even just going out for a wander and taking the torch with you so you can come back when it's dark. I mean, even that's rather nice, isn't it? Yeah.
Always nice, yes.
What have we got here? Chris says vegan pancakes cooked in a hubcap. Cooked in a hubcap, woman. Good God! Over a pallet of wood fire at Baggington during the live export demos. Best outdoor food ever. Does sound rather good. Never thought of cooking in a hubcap. Wow. I've never ever thought. Wow. I've never thought of using a hubcap. Used a hubcap as an ashtray. Large ashtray. But I've never thought of using one as a pancake pan before. Didn't it stick?
Be a very clean one, clearly.
Well, I don't know about that. I suppose it would be clean after the first one.
Yeah, because the first one's always rubbish anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, it's always a bit of a funny shape.
Never quite comes off, does it?
No. I made some pancakes when I was off on Sunday. Was it Sunday? I was very disappointed. I went out and bought lemons, actually. And I was very disappointed. Yeah. Oh dear. Right, what we got here? I'm missing some things. Well, I've got the garden here. I made friends with a tree maintenance man. That's sensible. They let me warn the trees before they did some work recently and let me take off cuts. They're not all baddies. Well, that was nice. Laura says, do you have trouble with cabbage white butterflies on your broccoli? Well, I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe I had 50 lots of broccoli and I only had 3 left. So maybe I do. I don't know.
Yeah, slugs and snails. They're our biggest things, slugs and snails, because obviously it's quite damp soil because of being near the stream. So,
covered hers with a net curtain during the summer. That's a good idea.
Mm.
Thought it was dead, but it bounced back in the cold weather. Excellent. Laura's looking forward to Beltane. Blimey, that's a way off, isn't it? Yeah. We've got to start to get through first. And of course the equinox, whichever we want to talk about there. Becky obviously needs smudging, we've said that one there. Best to camp with medievalists. They do great feast for dozens with gorgeous pavilions. Now you see, we've done medieval camps, haven't we?
Well, yes, but that wasn't purposefully with medievalists. That was organised by you, wasn't it?
Yes.
Most fabulous feast.
Hello, I'll bet you anything you like, Rowan, that your medievalists didn't organise a knitted pig race.
That's not a line you expect to hear, is it, really?
We had the knitted Olympics, didn't we?
It was great fun.
It really was. Yeah. The knitted Olympics. Everything we had was knitted, wasn't it? So we had jousting, and even the joust.
Oh, yeah.
even the jousting sticks, all the chainmail was crochet, and all the jousting sticks were knitted. They were very wobbly, weren't they?
They were a little flaccid.
Weren't turgid at all, were they?
I think people were more whipped to death than poked, to be fair.
But I think it was the knitted pig Olympics. That was hilarious, wasn't it?
We all got very competitive as well. That was hilarious.
So it was brilliant. I knitted all these pigs, and then I had them on these on these very, very long strings. And then we had hay bales sort of laid out, so it was a bit of an assault course. And then it was one pig whitted against another one, and there was a person at the other end of this piece of string, and the knitted pig right down the other end attached to this piece of string. And on the starter's go, it was basically wind up your pig as quickly as you could. It was hilarious.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
What else did we have?
I seem to remember the chainmail not fitting my husband very well because there's quite a lot of him.
Yeah,
chainmail.
Again, it was one of those, how big chainmail do you need to make? Because then obviously I needed to make it so that it, sort of one size fits all. So what didn't fit your husband didn't also fit 3 or 4-year-old children.
Like a dress.
Oh God,
That's hilarious though.
What else did we have? We had the did we have knitted archery? We did. Everything was knitted, wasn't it? It was just
It was. Yeah, I can't. It's so long ago now.
Yeah,
it was fabulous.
Well, yeah, big feast.
Quite crazy.
Had it in a castle, didn't we? Which my ex-husband made.
Indeed.
And then we had obviously everything that's spit roasted, and we cooked chickens under the ground, and not very big, but yeah, it was it was all jolly good fun. So yes, what we got here? Gave the police the first ones.
Yeah, because the first one's always rubbish.
This one's a bit of a funnish, right? Would you like it? Somebody was saying that the dog always gets the first one. Yeah. Had spells for the fire. Yeah. Lots of spells for the fire. Yeah, I usually do that if I do a camping event, different spells for the fire.
Yeah, it's too good to waste, isn't it, really? Fire is such a good opportunity for sending messages up.
Yeah.
Cleansing and getting rid of stuff. Yeah. Fabulous either way.
Send them off into the ether and just let the universe do its thing, really. It's just lovely, isn't it?
Or scrying embers, which is one of my favourites.
I love that. I love all the different colours. Most people think that embers are just sort of orange, really, don't they? But yes, so many different colours. Yeah. Would you like to hear my story of the strange fire that I had at Beltane? Beltane. No, it wasn't. It was Samhain one year. It must be about 20 years ago now. Yeah, about 20 years ago. Wow. And it was really bizarre. It was the most peculiar event. So a friend of mine and I, we decided that we were going to celebrate Samhain together in the woods, just her and me. And so we've gone out and had a meal first. And then we sort of went trundling off in the car to the woods and sort of parked as near to the woods as we could get. And this particular woodlands wasn't my woods. This particular woodland, public woods, is quite slopey. So you've got like a road that goes through, and you've sort of got less woodlands on one side but on the other side, it's really quite steep slopes. So it was about 11 o'clock or half 10, 11 o'clock by the time we got there, I suppose. And we'd taken along, sort of various paraphernalia with us, sort of cauldrons and wands and hackneys and all, usual kind of stuff. We're there in our cloaks and whatnot. And we tried everything to get this flipping fire going. It did not want to get going at all. And we used, we found lots of dry leaves and sticks and things, but it just didn't want to take at all. And so we eventually ended up having a couple of tea light candles alight. It wasn't windy. It was very, very still and dry. So we had a couple of tea light candles, and we were kind of like placing things over it in the hopes that they would catch, and then the tea light candles would furnace it, if you like. Anyway, we managed to get it going, and then eventually, it was going under its own steam, but not very well. And the flames were such a peculiar colour. They were all green and blue. There wasn't any yellow, no orange, all green and blue. And it's like, well, you quite often see green and blue in the fire, but not exclusively green and blue. Anyway, then we became aware, so we've got this green and blue fire going. So like, that's really weird. And we're trying to do our stuff. And then we became aware that there was a lot of young men that were walking quite nearby on sort of like the road bit, but coming from the road down in our direction. And we're like, not safe, not safe. 2 girls out on our own, and there sounded like there was about 8 of them. So doing weird stuff in the woods. We'll hide in the dark, but we'll put the fire out. So the fire was kind of like, oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Didn't fancy burning anyway. So we put the fire out, put the torches out, and we sat just the other side of a really big fallen tree trunk. And we sat there, and they kind of like kicked around a bit, and eventually they wandered off, and we just kept quiet. So we were sure that they'd gone, and we're like, right, okay, so let's get this fire going again, because it's now probably about midnight. So we thought, okay, we'll get this fire going again, the blue fire. We'll get it going again in the same place, because obviously, we cleared a patch especially so that we wouldn't set the fallen leaves on fire and so on. Could we find that patch? Bearing in mind it was literally a matter of inches away from where we were sitting. No, there was absolutely no evidence of this fire that we'd had going eventually for about half an hour. There was absolutely no evidence of it whatsoever, not even the little cases of the candles. And it's like somebody was definitely looking after us that day, because it was just as though nothing had ever been there. There was nothing charred, nothing, absolutely nothing at all. It was really, really bizarre. And it's like, you to go home. But
you're not wanted here.
No, not wanted. We'll do something different another day. But it was really bizarre. But it was just like somebody was looking out for us. We couldn't be seen, and obviously we were quiet. But as I say, this fire was so reluctant to get going in the first place, and then having put it out, and it was, very pleased to be put out. There was just no evidence of it at all. Not a charred stick, as I say, and not even the little metal cases of the tea lights. It was really weird, seriously weird. I was like, time to go.
Yeah, the hint.
Yeah, it's very good, and I put that down to experience. But yeah, it was odd though, very odd. It was just like fire. Never seen one like that before, because you do get the bits of blue and whatever when copper. When copper
it's copper, isn't it? Normally, if you put a box in or something that's got printing on it, that often will give you strange colour. But to have an entire fire, no, that's
And all of the fire that we were burning, it wasn't. We weren't burning paper and that kind of stuff to get it going. It was all these sticks. Yeah, leaves, twigs, and sticks. All of it was all natural stuff that was, what we were gathering up on the woodland floor. And yeah, entirely green and blue. It was very odd. Never seen anything like it since. Yeah, or for that matter. So yeah, strange times. Yeah, it was odd. So yes, the strange fire at Samhain.
Yeah, well, it's a hell of a time to be doing that sort of work, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But we definitely had a feeling it was that we weren't alone, and that something was definitely on our side and looking out for us. So yeah, very strange. Yeah. Have you got any particular like going back to the garden thing? Have you got particular stuff that you've planned already for going in your garden this year, or are you gonna see how you feel at the time?
It's kind of seeing what spaces I've got and sort of looking and trying to, I mean, a fair amount of the stuff I have in the garden dies back completely, like geraniums and peonies and what have you. So I've got to remember they're coming back, so I can't plant anything on them spaces. I love forget-me-nots, and my garden people treat them as weeds, but I just think they're so pretty and so delightful. I'm quite happy to have them everywhere. But yeah, I mean, I would like to there are things that need a bit of a prune back and stuff that's got a bit bullied out by other things. And it would be nice to go to, we actually have a agricultural college very near us, and their gardens are open. Even now, I mean, I could go around and wander around them because there's no one else there. And so, but they do have a shop. Now, obviously, that's not open at the moment, but when it does, I like to buy from them because it's a lot of stuff is grown by the students, so it supports them and goes back into the thing. And we have quite a few nurseries and that, but I don't like the great big fancy nurseries because they never have what I want. They only have the standard stuff, and me being me, always want something that's a bit different, or herby, or something that's not commonly found.
One of the things that I get really frustrated with myself, once a plant's kind of established itself, I'm quite good with it, but I find it is so hard to grow things from seed. I can get them from seed to sprout, no problem whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I can get from a slightly bigger plant into the garden or in a pot or wherever. It's that
bit in the middle, isn't it?
It's that bit in the middle. And they always seem to go, I don't know, they just never seem to strengthen. They all seem to sort of like stay spindly, and then they just suddenly go, and that's the end of that.
It's called damping off. Yeah. And the reason it normally happens, and I'm not no good at this either, but I understand what happens is you plant quite a lot in a pot, quite densely. They grow like billio, and then because they're so closely packed, they just fall over. But what you're supposed to do is then thin them out and repot them. That's the bit where I fall over, because I've either got too many seeds, not enough space to put it all, or I forget about them for a week, and as you say, they all just go. So,
but I don't even do that whole thing of planting, of doing lots of seeds in one thing. You know, I'll literally have 8 pots. So, like, why does it do that? I don't get it. I can understand what you're saying, but if I'm putting one seed in one pot, I don't have to repot it, and it's I don't know. I just don't get it.
It's a difficult thing because you can't put anything outside because it will die off. But when it's indoors and it's sat behind a nice window, it can overheat, and they're just so sensitive at that stage. I must admit, I tend to now. I mean, I used to take cuttings and things, and I was quite good at doing cuttings, but I don't have a kind of a greenhousey suitable spot to do that in my current garden. It just doesn't. It's just the direction we're facing and the way it's arranged. So I don't grow half of what I used to. But I'd rather go and buy 2 plants that are going to make it than spend loads of money on seeds where nothing's going to get through.
It's very frustrating. I get really cross. You know, and I was like, why can't I do that bit? I can do that bit and I can do that bit, but I can't do the bit in the middle.
It's usually because you're doing lots of other things, and you've only got to miss that tiny window of opportunity. And
And similarly, the ones that I plant outside, sort of directly outside, I also have trouble with them too.
Yeah, so, I'm much good with seeds outside. It's knowing what grows where you are. So I know I can grow things like, what grows like billio? What do they call them? Verbena. Not the lemon verbena, but the tall ones with the little purple. They're like weeds in my garden, and people always say to me, I can't grow those. So I just dig them up, all the new ones, and say, there you go. And foxgloves and stuff like that. Stuff like that grows really well. People said, oh, well, that bamboo won't do well. You're in a shady garden, and roses will struggle. I've got more coming out my ears than I've ever seen in my lifetime. So some things really like to grow, and other things I just haven't got a prayer with.
It's frustrating, isn't it? But Yeah, it's trial and error. And also, I think, you've got to know your soil. And of course, this year in my garden, it was my first year in the garden. So, some things that haven't worked so well, I think maybe it's the soil that's not right. So try different things, but I'm quite excited to get out there and get plotting and planning again and decide what to make.
To plot and plan and think what it's going to be like. And I'm looking forward to my peonies this coming year, because they should be a lot better than they were last year, because that was their first full year. So they should be more established now, and they're so beautiful.
They're lovely, aren't they? I love them.
It's my roses I love, because I love the smell of roses. I like fragrancy plants, and a lot of the rest of the stuff is either herbal or has got some kind of medicinal or magical use.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm lucky I've got my rose arch here, of course. It's so lovely. Yeah, it's just gorgeous. You didn't get to see it in the summer.
Well, no, not in height of summer, no.
No, and it's just amazing. So the roses, they grow about 20 feet high. So they'll start blooming from about 2 feet, and they literally grow about 20 feet high, and then they arch right over. So I've just got this archway, my gravelly bit, and I've got this arch come all the way up to the porch with all these red roses, and then it's interspersed with some wild roses as well. So there's like proper dark red roses, and then I've got wild dog roses in amongst them as well. Oh God, it's just lovely. It's just so nice. Sharp, but lovely.
Yeah, it's the fragrance of things I like. That on a sort of in the evening, and that's when the smells are often very intense, and you just sit outside and go.
Oh yeah, and then the honeysuckle as well. Oh,
I've got lots of honeysuckle. I like jasmine. All those scented things. But our honeysuckle here is very scented. And as I said earlier, we have hops too. So when those actually turn into the actual hops themselves, the smell of those is incredible.
Yeah. I've got summer flowering jasmine, and then I've got winter flowering jasmine, which is out at the moment in my bedroom window. Excuse me. So I've got that out, and that's sort of a really pale pink, but it's got like little red bits behind it. And then the summer flowering jasmine is this really deep Barbie pink. It's gorgeous actually, and that's all by the front gate. So and that's where the honey.
Get to see it this year.
Oh, it's just lovely. It's so pretty. So Becky's saying that she's feeling a bit more cheered up, which is good.
Good.
So she's cleaned her bathroom. You could have come and done mine. I think that's a bit off.
Enjoyed it.
So it's nice that you're feeling a little bit better, and I'll talk to you soon. So she's cleaned her bathroom and toilet while listening to you chatting. Oh.
You could take that either way, really, couldn't you? A bit backhanded, but there you go.
Yeah, brilliant. Maybe want to close the toilet. Yeah. Well, on that note, you will disappear.
Perhaps we should.
Yes, indeed. Well, thank you everybody for listening. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Usual stuff down at the bottom. Hit the bell and all that. So yes, and we will see you next week, if not before. Have a fantastic week, and yes, toodaloo.
Bye bye now.
Bye bye.